anode will break in half. That is what a used up anode looks like. That's how much corrosion it takes to basically bust your tank. If you don't have this, you're kind of wasting your time. I'm Brandon Burrill. In this video, I'm going to show you how to change your anode in your water heater. So let's get to it. While you're doing that, you probably should just flush it out as well. Now to flush your water heater, if you don't have this valve here, it's just not going to work because the minerals are a little bit too big. This valve will let anything in there come out. The valve that comes with the water heater is just too darn small. Nothing will come out, it'll get clogged right here. In addition, a lot of water heaters will start to corrode right here. It'll block the hole. So before we do a flush, we're always gonna pop out your old drain valve and we're gonna put in a new drain valve. That way we can actually get flow and get everything come out of the water heater. This is what you need to do a proper flush. If you don't have this, you're kind of wasting your time. But more importantly than flushing, honestly, is the anode. The anode is everything. The flush is great and you're gonna feel satisfaction from doing a flush, but it's not actually gonna prolong the life of your water heater. Basically nothing. So it does make it more efficient and it'll allow the heat to transfer from the metal into the water at a better rate, but overall, the thing that's gonna make the hugest difference is the anode. So first step is you're gonna need 2 new Link anodes. You can get these on Amazon. They're not that expensive, about 50 bucks a piece. There's 2 different styles. This is a hex head. And this is a hot nipple. So I'm gonna show you what these do. Each one of these water heaters has a different style. So this is a hex anode that drops in here. Now here's the thing. Manufacturers really honestly don't want you to change the anode. Because if you do, your water heater will never break or it'll never leak and then you never can buy another water heater. So, for example, with A.O. Smith, they bury their water heaters or they bury the anodes inside of the insulation, which is super annoying. So you gotta get in here and chip it out. And you gotta remove this little plug and then you gotta get in and cut away all the foam insulation. That is what it looks like in the port. Now I gotta clean off all of that. All right, so now we basically cut away the majority of the insulation. Just expose it. So obviously they're not making this easy. And if you don't know where to look for this thing, there's no way you find it. Now here's the thing. The anodes I have are chain links. All right, so I have a big impact wrench, a 1/2 inch. You can also use, I think this is an 11/16. It's 1 1/16 adapter, and just slide it on there. So you can use this with a breaker bar, but you're gonna need something pretty big. Obviously we do a lot of these, so we have an impact wrench to do it. So let's get it out. Okay, so once it starts freely spinning, you want to be really slow because what will happen is the anode will break in half and it will snap. So this is the anode here. All right, so that is what a used up anode looks like. So when it gets to this point, essentially there's very little, if anything, left of the anode. What this does is it sacrifices itself in order to protect the steel tank. So instead of basically rusting out the tank, it rusts out this magnesium anode rod and protects the steel tank. So it's meant to sacrifice itself so that it doesn't break the tank. You'll find these on boats and saltwater. Anything that's in water that has metal in it, you want to put an anode on it so that it doesn't just evaporate. So that's that. And then for this one, we're going to use our hex head anode. You can buy these on Amazon, but I recommend going to Ferguson or a plumbing supply house. That's probably the best bet. So, what you're gonna do is put a little thread sealant on the top of the threads. So, basically just this. You don't need to go too crazy, but you want to make sure that all the threads are covered. Like that. And then, now imagine, if you look over here, sometimes you're gonna have an 8-foot ceiling and you're not gonna be able to get a long straight anode out. So what you can do is if your anode is basically thick enough to where you can't bend it, you should just leave it in there and then come back to when you can basically bend it sideways and then pull it out, bend it so you can get it out. Like the one I just pulled out was toast. So clean out threads and then we're just gonna drop it in. Now, again, you want to go super slow in the beginning. A lot of times I'll pull this off and just get it started with my fingers, because if you cross thread this, your tank is done. So you have to be really careful about how you do this. You want it to be just right. Boom. All right, so this is for an A.O. Smith or Rheem. If you have a Bradford White, it's gonna be slightly different. I'll show you how to do that. I love Bradford White water heaters, but this is my least favorite part, and that's the fact that they only have one slot. So this has a designated place for the anode to go into. This water heater does not have that same slot. All it has is the hot water or the cold water nipple. So we're gonna pull the hot. Again, we've got this thing attached from the wall. In your house, it's gonna look like this. So you're not, most likely the ceiling is gonna be right here. The anode is 3.5 feet long. You're not gonna be able to get it out. So in that case, you might have to use a bandsaw or a sawzall. And as you're pulling it out, you need to score it, crack it, pull it up, score it, crack it, and then you can get the whole thing out. But with this is just the hot water nipple. Take the supply line. All right. Now, here comes the fun. A lot of times these are pretty darn in there, which can be dangerous because if you break this nipple off inside, your water heater's toast. You're gonna need to get a new one, so be careful. The standard, that thing's probably pretty rusted too. Grab my slightly longer. So this one came out. If yours doesn't want to come out, it means that most likely the corrosion has gone beyond the anode and is starting to attack the threads. So if it doesn't want to come out, be careful. All right, so, okay. So this is a water heater that we replaced. It's just a dead one we have around the shop. That is what's left of the anode that originally looked like this. So that's how much corrosion it takes to basically bust your tank and cause it to leak. So the point is that the manufacturer really doesn't want you to do this because then you'll never need a new water heater. But essentially I would just cut these zip ties, drop this bad boy in, put a little sealant on there, and then hook it all back up. So that's how you change your anode on a water heater. It is the one thing that basically prevents the water heater from failing to the point where you cannot repair it. If the water heater leaks, it means that the anode's toast like this, and you waited too long. So essentially every 3 to 5 years, you want to change your anode. Now, with the Bradford White, you only have one option, one anode at a time. But with A.O. Smith and Rheem, you can put a hex head here, and then you can drop a hot nipple anode in the hot side. So you can have 2 anodes. In that case, I'd say you want to inspect every 7, maybe 6, 7 years. And then just change them both at the same time. If this video was helpful, like it, dislike it. Tell us what you think about it. Tell us what we did wrong. Whatever you want. If you have a question, leave a comment. I do monitor the channel. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down or subscribe or whatever you want. But anything you do will help us and help us keep creating more content for you. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.